The dingo barrier fence is a dog fence, or it is called as the wild dog barrier fence. It is one of the longest structures in the world. It is a pet exclusion fence built in Australia to keep dingoes. Dingoes is a type of wild dogs away from the fertile southeastern part of the continent, particularly to protect the livestock like sheep. The key facts of this dingo barrier fence is the length of the dingo barrier fence is 5,600 kilometers, so it is around 3,480 miles. It was built originally in the early 20th century, and the location it runs through parts of Queensland, New South Wales and South Australia. The purpose was to protect agricultural land and livestock, mainly sheep, from dingo attacks. Why is it needed? Because dingoes are natural predators and they cause serious damage to livestock, sheep in particular. So the fence was intended to reduce the economic loss from such attacks. While it helped to protect the livestock, the fence has altered the ecosystems, as dingoes are apex predators. Excluding them has led to increased population of other animals like kangaroos and other invasive species, which has sometimes caused ecological imbalance. It is longer than the Great Wall of China. It is continuous form and it is one of the few man-made structures visible from space. Just as the dingo barrier fence was built to protect livestock and preserve valuable land from destruction, God also places a spiritual hedge of protection around his people. In the story of Job, we can see that Satan acknowledges that Job was shielded by God's divine barrier. Just like farmers rely on the physical fence to guard their sheep, Job 1:10, the Satan says to God, "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land." This verse reminds us that God sets boundaries for our safety. He is our protector from seen and unseen dangers. And just as the farmers trust the fence, we are to trust God's covering over our lives, our children's life, our families, and our works. When humans alter the ecosystems, like excluding dingoes, which leads to overpopulation of other species and imbalance in the environment, it shows how even well-meaning actions can unintentionally disturb God's natural design. In Ecclesiastes 7:13, consider what God has done. Who can straighten what he has made crooked? This verse reminds us that we need to respect the order of creation. It teaches us nature is interconnected by divine wisdom, and tampering with creation without understanding the whole, it can lead to unintended consequences. So God's creation has purpose and balance, and it is wise to steward, not control it. The dingo barrier fence teaches us two vital truths. Like in Job 1:10, the fences symbolizes God's protection. God builds divine hedges around his people, shielding us from all the evil. And in Ecclesiastes 7:13, it reminds us when we disrupt the natural order that God created, like removing dingoes from the ecosystem, we see a fragile imbalance. So God's design is intricate, it is wise, and it is not to be carelessly altered. So let us also trust God's protection like shepherds trust a fence. Let us be faithful stewards of the earth, honoring the balance God has placed in, and at the same time let us recognize that God's ways are higher and every part of his creation has the divine purpose. Hallelujah.